everyone, my name is Stella, and in today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how to make super cute shrink plastic earrings from scratch, like these. First, let's talk about what you'll need. Most obviously, you'll need some shrink plastic sheets. You can get these easily from any craft store or Amazon. There are a variety of shrink plastic types. Some are more clear and some are more translucent. I got one with a textured surface and it worked really well with my colored pencils and markers. Speaking of, you'll definitely need some drawing supplies. I found that permanent markers, colored pencils, and alcohol markers all work pretty well for different purposes. I'll talk more about them later. To turn the designs into earrings, you'll also need a hole punch, scissors, pliers, and of course the earring hooks themselves. And lastly, you'll need an oven and some parchment paper to bake your shrink plastic. Both toaster ovens and full-sized ovens work just fine. I've got Amazon links in the description below so you can buy everything. Next up, I'll show you a few ways to design your shrink plastic earrings. The first method is by far the most obvious, drawing the designs directly on the shrink plastic by hand. For this design, I used colored pencils. Colored pencils are really easy to control and they're great for details. Freehanding your designs works really well if you have simple design ideas or if you're a super pro artist. I, however, am not a super pro artist, so here's some other ideas for how you can make super cute earring designs. If you have an iPad, you can find an image, lay the shrink plastic sheet on top of it, and trace it. I recommend checking out Unsplash for great quality photos that you can use for free. For these ginko leaf earrings, I used permanent markers to do the outline. Then I used alcohol markers to add in the main color. I think alcohol markers actually worked really well with the shrink plastic that I used, and it was able to create a pretty even coat without it being too streaky. It's also much more fast at filling in colors than colored pencils and generally gives a more even finish. But one thing I will say is that sometimes it bleeds a little bit beyond the edge, so you do have to be careful when you're coloring it in. Lastly, I used some colored pencils to add some vein detailing. It's kind of hard to see on the camera here, but you can actually see it in the charms themselves. Now, if you don't have an iPad, you can always find a design you like online, print it out, and then use that to trace onto the shrink plastic. This time I did the outline with colored pencil, but still did the coloring with the alcohol markers. Although the alcohol markers can bleed a bit, one thing to keep in mind is that any small mistakes will be a lot less noticeable once the designs shrink down after baking the charms. Once you're done with the designs, the next thing to do is to use scissors to cut out the shrink plastic earrings. When you're using the scissors, you want to make sure you don't cut to the end of the scissor tips, because when you do so, it kind of causes the shrink plastic to deform a little bit. Once you're done cutting the pieces out, add a hole punch near the top of the design. This is where you'll be attaching the earring hooks, so you want to make sure you punch the hole pretty close to the top edge. And now we're ready for the next step, baking. To prepare for baking, you first want to start preheating your oven to whatever temperature your shrink plastic instructions say. Mine was 300 degrees Fahrenheit. You also want to prepare a tray, put some parchment paper on top of it, then lay your charms on top of the parchment paper. And now we're ready to bake. Be sure to watch this next part because it's always super fun to watch the designs shrink in the oven. Generally, you should bake the designs for 1 to 2 minutes, though you should check the instructions that come with the shrink plastic that you buy. Once I see the pieces stop shrinking and flatten out, I take them out of the oven. You don't want to let them sit in there for too long or the pieces could get burnt and discolored. One helpful tip is to bake different designs separately, because smaller designs may shrink faster than the larger ones and be done sooner. Now that we have our charms ready, let's move on to earring assembly. Using the pliers, you can open up the bottom of the earring hooks. When you're putting the charm on, one thing to keep in mind is which side of the charm you want to face the front when you're wearing it. Then you simply close the loop and you're done. Voila! One super cute custom earring. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you now have some ideas on how to create your own super cute shrink plastic earrings. And if you have any questions about the process, just let me know in the comments and I'll help answer them. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel for more fun crafty content. Hope to see you next time. Bye!